And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
For all my international viewers, forgive me for a moment as I get excited, for I am an American and I like games that have a patriotic theme. And as Americans, there's nothing that brings us together more than election time. Or something like that. Maybe not. And in fact, elections certainly will bring people who don't care anything about politics out of the woodwork to watch each other. But I don't want to get involved in the rhetoric of an election. Who I vote for has no bearing, but it does matter a bit in this game who wins the election, because this is a game, Campaign Manager 2008, which kind of recreates the election between Senator John McCain and our current President of America, President Barack Obama. It's a quick two-player game, just won the International Gaming Award. Is it worth it? Is it a good game? Let's look! Each player has a deck of 45 cards. However, in each game, you're only going to use 15 of these cards. So you will actually get to choose these cards via a drafting method and take 15 of them to use in the game itself, and you'll be playing these cards. So it's interesting. The decks themselves are really not that different between McCain and Obama. The flavor text is certainly different, but other than that, I mean, there's some minor differences, but neither side has a real big advantage over the other. Now, the cards will allow you to do different things. For example, here's one of the cards. This one says, gain one support and economy in a single state and alter the key demographic in that state. So we're going back here to Florida. So let's take a look at Florida, a closer look. And it says, gain one support and economy. So if I was the Obama player and I played that, I would cover up one of the red discs with a blue disc. Or if there was a red disc on top of one of my blue discs, I could remove that. If there was no red discs at all, let's say I had blue discs here, then and only then I could start covering up the undecided votes. And so that's one of the things. It also, that card said, alter the key demographic. Now you'll see here that in this state, there's two key demographics, the Jewish conservatives and the Latinos. And both of these are big groups. The little key symbol shows that it starts on Jewish conservatives, and it can move back and forth from one to the other. The reason that you will do that is because there are occasionally cards like this card here, and let's focus out and look at it, where it says all undecided voters in states where Reagan Democrats are the key demographic become blue voters. So if you have a card like that in your deck, you can change all these undecided ones to your color. And so basically what players are doing as the game progresses is usually they're going to be moving this back and forth, adding votes to either side, to economy or defense, or both, and moving this back and forth. But they're doing it on 4 different states at any given time. When a state is won, then things change. The player who won the state chooses one of the leftover states that hasn't been won yet, and then we draw a breaking news card, which does something to the new state coming out. For example, the effective state shifts one space toward economy. There's a few other rules in the game. One of them that I find interesting is that some cards show a die on them. They're more powerful than others. They're dirty tricks, basically, or going negative. And when you do that, that's fine. You can use that powerful card, but then the other player gets to roll a die and do something. And sometimes it will have no effect, but sometimes they'll be able to shift a single state one towards either issue, or alter the key demographic in a single state. So you have to be careful. Going negative cards are more powerful, but they can hurt you in the long run. As soon as we get enough of these states, add it to the bar up here, and your side goes all the way across and reaches 270, you win the game. Game takes about 45 minutes. It's pretty quick and easy. Campaign Manager is a fun game. I really enjoyed it. I think that there's strategy back and forth, although I'm starting to wonder if the main part of the strategy is in how you build your deck, picking those 15 cards. It's fun, it's interesting. Is not the depth that we find that Jason Matthews and Christian had put in their last game, 1960. That's a much more in-depth game, and there's even more in Jason Matthews' previous game, Twilight Struggle. So each game gets a little bit simpler and simpler. This one's fast and it's fun. I don't think it's the best two-player game of the year. I'm not sure how it won that award, but I mean, it's a good game. It's a good, solid game. My biggest concern with it is I don't know that this election was that interesting. 1960 was a key election, close, down to the bone type of election. This one here, 2008, well, that's already 2 years old, and people already started to talk about the 2012 election. And I don't know that this is have any kind of staying power. Are we going to look back someday and say the 2008 election was that big of a deal? Maybe it is. I don't claim to know a whole lot politically. But speaking of politics, it's really interesting how this game works. When I was playing the game with one person, I took one of the sides, and I won't say which one, but I started spewing out the rhetoric of that side. I hear enough of it on the radio, I read enough of it online, I'm very interested in politics to some degree, and so I know enough of the rhetoric, and so I was playing my part. Lots of fun. But he was a little taken back by it because the side that I was using was a side that he was very much opposed to, and so my rhetoric was making him feel uncomfortable. So there is that. I suppose a Republican and Democrat playing their respective sides could get very irritated, or both of them could get irritated at the game designer for showing their weak points, I suppose, on the cards. Fun game, lots of fun. If you have any interest in politics, definitely pick it up. If you like fun two-player games, also a good reason to try it.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.